Today, I'm going to be showing you how to use an Instant Pot. Hi, I'm Karen Peterson and I own the blog 365 Days of Slow and Pressure Cooking. Here on YouTube, I share Instant Pot stuff with you every single week, and today I'm going back to square one, the very basics of just how to get started with an Instant Pot. I know there are a lot of new users out there, people that might have their Instant Pot still in the box, just a little nervous and intimidated by what all those buttons mean and how to use it. Today I'm going to walk you step by step on how to get started with it. It's not hard. I know that you're going to feel a lot more comfortable after you watch this video, that you're going to even be cooking by tomorrow. So let's get started. How to use an Instant Pot. The first thing that I want to mention is that Instant Pots are totally safe. They're not the pressure cooker from your grandma's kitchen. They are completely safe. They have all these safety mechanisms in place, so don't be nervous. You can do this. It's not scary. I want to talk about how a pressure cooker works. A pressure cooker works by building steam inside that pot. The pot is sealed, and so it's in a closed environment, and the steam is building and building and builds all this pressure, which cooks the food. Now, how is that steam produced? By liquid. The number one thing that you have to remember with pressure cooking is that it needs liquid to build steam so that the pot can build pressure. In all the recipes that you use, you're going to need around a cup of liquid for the pot to build enough pressure. Now, you can use water, you can use broth, you can use other thin liquids, for example, maybe vegetable juice. But you cannot use thicker sauces like barbecue sauce or spaghetti sauce because they aren't thin enough to produce that steam to get that pressure built. All right, I have 3 pressure cookers here with me today to show you the differences between some of them. This is the Duo. And usually you can tell if it's a Duo. You can see how the lid has these little fins in the side. And this is the Luxe, which it doesn't. So the lid just looks a little bit different. They're both good pressure cookers, but I'm going to just show you on this one. Make sure before cooking anything in the Instant Pot that the sealing ring is in nice and snug. It should just be in there, but sometimes if you use it a lot, it will kind of get popped out. This, and all you need to do is just pop it back into place. It should be very snug and fit in there perfectly. Open the pot and you'll see a max fill line right there. You need to make sure that you do not fill liquid above the max fill line. And that is because if it's fuller than that, then the pot will not be able to build enough pressure because there's not enough space, empty space, I should say, in the pot for steam to build. So that's why there's the max fill line. Let's look at it on this one. Same thing, you can see it right there. I'm going to add some water into the pot just to show you what it looks like when you start cooking. Let's say we have our food in the pot. The lid's a little tricky. You kind of set it on and you can see where it says close and open, so you turn it this way. And then you want to make sure every time you're pressure cooking that you push the sealing and not to venting. So there's a knob on the top and you always want it towards the sealing, not the venting. And it is wobbly. It doesn't seem like it's firm in place, but that's how it's supposed to be, so don't worry. So go to sealing. I'll show you what it looks like on this one too. See, this one's a little different. It has venting over here, and then the middle says sealing. So keep it on the sealing right there. You can push the manual button for this example, or if you have the pressure cook button, depending on your model of Instant Pot. So I'm just going to push manual, and I'm just going to push it for 1 minute just so you can see what happens. So it will sit there for about 10 seconds and it will click over to on. At this point, it will be very quiet. You won't hear anything and you'll be wondering, okay, is it counting down from the minute or what's going on? Well, what's happening right now is the water that's in there is building steam, which is going to build the pressure, and it will seal off your Instant Pot. You can tell that it's not under pressure right now because this little float valve up here is down there. And when it is under pressure, when it's totally built up the pressure, it will be flush with the top of this thing here. For a couple minutes, it's going to be totally silent, and then you're going to start hearing a slight hum. I don't know if you can hear that or not. And you'll even see some steam escaping out of the valve up here. I started this one too, just for fun. But you can hear it if you listen carefully. And that just means that the pressure, the steam is building the pressure inside of the pot. Okay, it's going to get a little bit louder. You can hear it, and soon it's going to reach pressure, and we'll see that valve pop up. You can even see a little bit of water coming out of it. Don't worry, it's okay. Oh, did you see it? So it just came up. That means it's reached pressure. And then this display still says on, but in a second here, it's going to switch over to our time, which we set was just 1 minute. Okay, so just switch to the 1 minute, and it's going to start counting down. If you had it at 60 minutes, it would count down from 60, but we only set it for 1. And once the time is up, you'll hear the pot beep. So I'll just show you what that sounds like. It has an L in the front, which just means lapsed time. This is the amount of time that has passed since the pot beeped, meaning that the pressure cooking time was up. And it will start counting up. So if it's counting up, you know that your pot, the pressure cooking time is done. If it was counting down, you know that the pressure cooking time is still going on. Now you'll notice, since the pressure cooking time is up, it's not building pressure anymore, but it is on this keep warm setting with the little orange light on the right there. It automatically switches over to keep warm and will keep your food warm until you're ready to open up the pot and eat it. Okay, I'm just going to show you quickly how to decide what buttons to use. I always use the manual button. You're going to notice that there's a lot of other buttons. So you'll see that there's specific foods here, and then some other settings like steam and slow cook, those are settings, and then saute is another setting. The manual button, or your version might say pressure cook, is just where you manually push a button and you can switch the time up or down using these plus or minus buttons. I'm just going to turn it off for now. The off button is also the keep warm or cancel button. So you just turn that off or on. That means it's on warm. This means it's off. This one looks a little bit different depending on your model. So I would use the manual button if I was gonna cook with this one. Now, I don't use any of these when I cook. I always just use to pressure cook. I always use the manual button, or if you have a pressure cook button, it might say pressure cook. On this version, the Luxe version, it's the Luxe version because it says right there, it does not have the ability to cook on high or low pressure. It just automatically defaults to high pressure. Now, if you're using this one, the Duo, I'm going to turn it off now just so you can see. Let's say I want to manual pressure cook something, and I'm going to go to 10 minutes. And you see here that you have the option of low pressure or high pressure. You can use the pressure button to toggle between low and high. 99.9% of the recipes out there use high pressure, so I don't even state that in my recipe. I just assume that people know to use high pressure. You might be wondering what these less, normal, and more buttons are for, and that is to have to do with the saute setting. You would use the saute setting if you want to brown meat before pressure cooking, or if you want to saute some onions, or anything that you would do on the stovetop, you can do using this saute button. Push the saute button, and then you'll see there's 3 settings: less, normal, and more. You can use the adjust button to go from less, normal, and more. They kind of are like the low, medium, and high buttons on your stove knob. So if you want to bring something to a roaring boil, push the more button. I usually just keep mine on more because normal or more. I don't use less very often. Less would be more for like a simmer. Normal is more for sauteing, and more is for searing meats and things like that. So as it heats up, the pot will just get nice and warm inside, and you can saute whatever you need to saute. To cancel off the saute setting, you just push, again, the cancel button, or it also says keep warm, cancel off. Just because a recipe says cook for 10 minutes doesn't mean that it's just a 10-minute process. As you could tell when our pressure was building earlier, that took about 10 minutes in real time to build the pressure. Then it starts counting down from the 10 minutes. Here I set this one to 10 minutes and now it's at 6. So it's counting down, and that's 10 minutes of more time. And then what you also have to consider is the pressure release time specified on the recipe. Pressure release just means that you're moving the valve from sealing to venting so that all the pressure comes out of the pot. That would be a quick release. If you just quickly do it right after the time is up, that's a quick release. If the recipe says do a natural pressure release, that means that you're just letting the pot sit there for several minutes after this timer is up, and the valve will automatically go down by itself. Can you see how this valve is still up? I'll show you what a quick release looks like. You're just going to move from here to here. As I explained about the amount of liquid that you need in your pot to come to pressure, if you're trying to cook a recipe that doesn't have liquid, for example, let's say a casserole or lasagna or something like that, you cannot cook that directly in the bottom of your Instant Pot, or else you'll get the burn message and it won't turn out. But you can work around this by using the pot in pot method. Basically, that means you're putting water in the bottom of the pot, placing another vessel, a container, an oven-safe dish with your ingredients in it into the bottom of the pot on top of a trivet. Then the steam is created with the water that you put in the bottom of the pot, and it builds the pressure, and then the food cooks inside that inner vessel. I explain this more in another video that I will link to right now up above.